Okay, Annie, I'm very happy to have you here in the studio. You have a big announcement to make and an invite to our viewers. Why don't you share?
That's right. So we are kicking off a major national campaign to get Bob Avakian's social media at Bob Avakian Official everywhere. And we're having national meetings this weekend to launch this. So if you're anywhere near New York, Chicago, LA, San Francisco, be there. Basically, we are aiming to raise tens and hundreds of thousands of dollars for major advertising to reach and garner tens and hundreds of thousands of followers on Bob Avakian's social media. And I'll just say, look, there's nobody besides Bob Avakian and the RevComs he's leading who are even talking about real revolution and who are enabling people to see the nature of this system that needs to be overthrown. And it is this system of capitalism, of imperialism, that is hurtling humanity to a disaster. And people are naming it everything but. People are getting caught up to try to make change within the very source of what's causing and driving this horror of ecocide, of rising fascism, of global destruction and genocide before our eyes. And yet people aren't, some people might name capitalism, but actually talking about and having a strategy for and a plan for real overthrow, not in some far off time, but right in this time we're living in. So there's real urgency to get Bob Avakian's voice, to get his leadership impacting all of society in front of millions, really reaching millions and involving and unleashing thousands. And that's what this campaign is aimed at doing in a very short period of time.
Could you talk a little bit about what Bob Avakian is doing in these social media messages? What is the content of this, and what is it leading people to understand and act on?
He says it, I think, best himself. I want to draw from his own words in a couple different places on this social media. I'll just say in brief, he's providing the leadership people need to understand what is happening and why, and to be able to recognize the positive revolutionary potential that can be wrenched out of a very dark and very dangerous and very difficult situation. And he's doing that hot on the heels of breaking events to be able to see through the thicket of what's happening. And he's going up against all of the bullshit that people are arguing basically all of the bullshit ways that the system has people trained to think and act, and also all the ways in which people's sights are profoundly constrained to thinking and acting on the terms of the system itself. So why don't we play the first paragraph from his first social media dispatch that introduces what he's going to do.
This is Bob Avakian, BA, revolutionary leader, bringing forward a whole new way, a whole new framework for human emancipation, the new communism. I'm coming to you straight up, bringing truth the powers that be don't want you to have, truth you need to know, the truth about the revolution we need, why this revolution is necessary, why and how it is actually possible, and what this revolution is all about. Because if you don't understand why we need a revolution and how that revolution could be possible, then you don't know what you need to know.
So that's just the beginning of how he framed this whole series of social media messages that he's been, delivering for months now. But here's a feel for some of the other things he's speaking to, and it gives you a sense of how he's speaking to them. He gets into why the U.S. is the number one imperialist oppressor in the world. And he gets into why, very simply, very sharply, very crisply, why is the U.S. supporting Israel's genocide in Gaza and in Palestine against the Palestinian people? And, that's a question. People are agonized. Why is this still happening? Why is Biden still backing and funding this when we can all see the obliterated babies? Why is he not been backed up off of this? Is it the Jewish lobby? No. It's not. Okay, so he answers that really crisply, and then he keeps making the case in a number of social media messages. He gets into capitalism, brand, ownership, and the putrid culture of parasitic empire. And I'm not going to say more than this now, but I'll just say in his social media, he's getting you to look at things that you just go along with all the time. That's just par for the course. Oh, I made a mistake. I own that. Is that capitalism speaking through me? So he's laying all this bare for people. I mean, there's more than we have time for here, but, anti-capitalist, but don't know what capitalism is, right? There's all kinds of ways he's challenging. Here's a couple important ones. What if the Democrats just accept Trump and fascism? What if the Democrats don't? And what does all this have to do with the possibility for an actual revolution? Okay, that's one of the more recent ones. Listen to that one. He's taking you through what's happening in this rare time, how things are coming to a head, why and how the choices are not between MAGA fascist, theocratic, open white supremacist nightmare on the one side, and on the other, why the choices are not and cannot be left to the war criminal, genocide committing Democrats. What actually are the choices for real for humanity, and how are we going to navigate this madness? So I know I'm going on quite a bit here, but this is what he's doing in this social media. He's providing leadership that people need now to be able to see through, like I said, the thicket of what is, and be able to see through the fact that the world could be a whole different way. One of the ones I didn't mention, there's no such thing as human nature. Right? So how could we be different? What kind of relations could be forged that are different? This is what's being provided. And through this, people get to know and find out about the leadership of Bob Avakian, which really is like nobody else on the planet in terms of being able to see the way through for humanity.
This campaign is happening at a really, really momentous time. You mentioned this, and Bob Avakian speaks to it deeply in these social media messages, that we're living in a time when what has held the society together is being ripped apart. The rulers are at each other's throats in a way that they haven't been since before the Civil War. And this is going to get only more intense it has been getting more intense. It's continuing to get more intense as we approach the scheduled elections. We don't know what's going to happen, but there are deep divisions that are not going to be knit back together. And there's a lot of ways that people are still clinging to things, trying to go along with the way things have been, desperate to cling to their illusions, get excited about Kamala Harris, all these things. But there's more and more people being unsettled by this. And this is part of why Bob Avakian's voice, Bob Avakian's leadership, and Bob Avakian's struggle with people to see not just the horror and confront it, but the possibility for revolution. If you step into this now, needs to get out before millions. Most people are not going to want to hear it all right away and get with it. But we're not going to reach the thousands who are hungering for a way out, searching for a way out, who would be the first to respond if we don't reach millions. As you get thousands, or even beginning critical masses, you can be acting on the terrain with revolutionary forces in a way that is shaping and influencing and lifting the sights of those millions. So there's a real dialectic between building the forces for revolution on the ground, the RevCom Corps for the emancipation of humanity, and the leading edge of getting this campaign of Bob Avakian social media out everywhere. And all the more so as events are continuing to accelerate and jolt people and make them go, okay, maybe I should give this a listen.
Right.
So this needs to be being heard by millions. Yeah.
Right. Well, and it's going to make exactly the dynamism then of Bob Avakian's voice, the scale, the societal impact, how sharply it's demarcated from everything else in society. That's really, even people who use the word revolution but have no sense of what the actual overthrow requires, have no positive vision for how to organize society in a whole different foundation. That demarcation, the dynamism of Bob Avakian's leadership through this social media can exactly be what is both impacting society, impacting millions, and training the thousands, right? He's training people to think, training people to not to go for revenge, but to go for human emancipation in revolution. He's training people in science in these social media messages. So part of the campaign is we're working both on impacting millions and bringing forward training the thousands, and exactly the back and forth you're talking about. And very concretely, right, with this campaign of building up a grassroots effort to raise big funds. of what you do in reaching out to your networks and people you know, of what you can do and being part of reaching people one-on-one through the social media, but also then joining with others and getting creative and bold and determined with banner drops that really provoke and capture people's attention. We want to do it. If we do an ad campaign targeted to a certain area, can that synergize and go back and forth with some creative things people do on the ground in that same area, so that people are encountering this more than once and they see an ad, but then they see these people on the ground, or they see something that provokes their curiosity or interest and challenges them, then things can start to reverberate to where people actually see this, they encounter it. And exactly that back and forth effort, that this campaign actually is a vehicle to do this in a really compressed period of time.
This campaign is putting a revolutionary, communist, world-class leader in front of millions. That's what we're aiming to do. And this is going up against a lot of assumptions, a lot of people's expectations, a lot of what they think they're looking for, what they think they need to reach for to solve the things that they are agonizing about. We have a clip that we want to play from Bob Avakian from a 2012 talk that he gave, the talk that we actually took the name of this show from, BA Speaks Revolution, Nothing Less, where he speaks some to the importance, and he takes on some of the prejudices people have against communist leadership.
Okay, so watch it, and then we'll come out of it.
Something that's out there that I wanted to speak to in terms of leadership, and my own leadership in particular, is I know this goes on in whispers, or some people say this among themselves if they don't always say it out loud. Especially among people who've had the bitter experience of being betrayed by leaders, in particular, great white fathers. They say, BA, why do you have to be white? Why couldn't you be black or something? Now, I used to get this back in high school. Back in the days at Berkeley High School, where I went to school, my black friends would often say to me, Bobby, that's what they used to call me back then, Bobby, it's a shame you're white. You would make a really great brother. Now, I've always considered that the highest of compliments. But here's the thing. If I were black, I wouldn't be Latino. If I were half black and half Latino, or part black, part Asian, part Latino, and part Native American, and still from America, I wouldn't be from the other parts of the world that are dominated and plundered by American imperialism. I wouldn't be Bangladeshi or Iranian or Arab, for example. If I were male, I wouldn't be female. If I were female and straight, I wouldn't be gay. And so on, and so on, and so on. And where does this end? And really, what is this all about? Once more, we're back to the question, what is the leadership we need? Well, that depends on what we're striving for. It's back to the big question. Why are we in the situation we're in today? Can anything be done to really change this? And if so, what is that change? And how can that change be brought about? To put it another, perhaps simpler way, what is the problem and what is the solution? That tells us what we need to be aiming for, and therefore what kind of leadership we need. Now, as a matter of fact, what I am today is in very important ways and to a very great degree the result of the influence of black people in their struggle, although there have been other influences that have also played an important part in my development. But the most important thing is this. At a certain point, I made a leap to becoming a revolutionary and a communist. And that is a leap that people, more and more people, have to make who want to see an end to all this madness and want a whole new liberating reality for humanity. If we want a world where never again will another youth be shot down by marauding, murderous police, where never again will a woman be raped or brutalized, where never again will masses of women and men be treated in any way as less than fully human, where never again will children die in huge numbers in their infancy, and never again will generation after generation face the same killing madness. If we want a world where all this is finally ended, along with 1,000 other outrages that seem so much a natural part of the human condition, but in fact are totally unnecessary at this point in human history, we need communist leadership, the most advanced, seriously scientific, and far-seeing communist leadership we can get. Many people also say, well, if BA is our leader, the leader of this revolution, then we need to be able to see him and talk to him directly. But the point is, what someone stands for and where this will lead people. What will happen if that person's ideas are taken up and fought for? That is the fundamental question, not whether you can see somebody and literally touch them. And there is the fact, let's be real here, revolution, if it's going to succeed, is going to involve millions and millions of people. And while it is a great thing to have the chance to be among and talk to some of these people who will be part of this revolution, still there are bigger things that have to be kept in mind, including how the powers that be look at and seek to deal with revolutionary leaders. And the fact is that even if I devoted the rest of my life to this, there is no way that I could personally meet with anything more than a small part of the millions who must be part of this revolution. This is how the question has to be understood and approached. How can you tell if a leader in a party are for real and will lead things where they need to go? In most basic terms, this is a matter of line, as we say, or to put it another way, a matter of policy and guidelines for the struggle. But above all, a matter of outlook and method and basic strategy and program that set the terms in a fundamental sense for how the struggle should be carried out and carried forward and toward what ends, all along the way and in an overall way. What line is put forward by a leader or group? How is that line carried out and to what effect? Those are the key questions. Now, defending and protecting leadership, as we have put it in our party, building a wall of support and defense around leadership which really does represent the revolutionary way forward. Working to defeat attacks on this leadership and to turn this into further exposure of this system and resistance against its completely illegitimate rule. This is a crucial part of building the movement for revolution and working to bring into being the basis for revolution and then actually making this revolution when the time is right, when the conditions have been brought into being, and the millions and millions who must make this revolution are ready and determined to fight to make it.
That is such a wonderful introduction to both who Bob Avakian is as a person, what shaped and developed him, but also somebody who is determined to help people see and break out of the bullshit ways of thinking and acting of this system that you just, people want to follow a leader that looks like them, stuck in identity, people who just kind of, think small scale about revolutionary change and not the fullness of what's required. And then the challenge he poses and giving a criteria for the kind of revolutionary leadership that we need and what's required. But this is just, that's the kind of thing we're going to have to do in this campaign. We are going up against all the bullshit arguments, all the controversy. I don't want to follow an old white man, the individual leader, attacks and slanders about cult and all this. But we're going up against it with the greatest strength we have in this leadership who's determined to break people out of the confines of this system and determined to lift people's sights to the fact that there really is a different way the world could be, different ways of relating that really is about the emancipation of humanity, not just their small group. So So in this campaign, that kind of contention is part of the strength that has to get joined and unleashed. It actually to have that work for us. So it's going to take all of us and our creativity and our really revolutionary determination, and then I think a lot of joy and a lot of sass in taking shit on and helping people see, oh, why am I caught up in this bullshit? There really can be a different way. Let's go. Let's fight for it. And that's what BA is challenging people to lift their sights to in his social media, that we have to make a big deal out of in this campaign. So go to these meetings, bring your ideas, bring your creativity, bring your donation, and let's have a big impact.
This is a really big deal, a big move. It can make the hugest difference. And there's a lot of work to be done, a lot of problems to solve, a lot of creative thinking to unleash to get this everywhere. So again, to echo her, we do want to see you at these meetings, and we'll continue to return to this on the show as we go forward.